3 is a number, a very important number for One Piece. You know you've got 3 admirals, 3 calamities, 4 emperors provided one doesn't show up, but most notably 3 is the number of devil fruit classes, Paramecia, Zoan, and Logia. But what if I told you that that was not the be-all and end-all of devil fruits and that a category 4 already exists? Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name is Liam and I am a category 4 Australian, which I believe is defined as some sort of reclusive outcast. So I suppose that's why I spend my life in a literal padded room talking about fictional fruit. But today we are here to attempt to shatter the very foundation of One Piece, because I am here to suggest that not only will there be a 4th category of devil fruit, but that it actually already exists. And just as a note, this video is part of September, where for the entire month of September, every time someone subscribes to this channel, we will be donating 10 cents to Make-A-Wish Australia, a group who work to grant life-changing wishes for children with critical illness. Because One Piece is all about dreams and we have the power to make some real-life dreams come true, so I think we should. There's also a link in the description to our fundraising page if you'd like to donate directly, and furthermore, please do say hi in the comments below if you are a new member of the Grand Fleet. Welcome. So part of this major hypothesis as to why a 4th category of devil fruit could already exist has to do with the idea that devil fruits are almost certainly man-made. At this point, it would be almost beyond comprehension to suggest that they are a naturally occurring phenomenon. Sure, certain powers do make sense, like say a wax fruit, a basic animal, and maybe even some elemental stuff, but then you quickly deviate into all sorts of curious and in many cases highly theoretical concepts. Whether this is say a devil fruit that allows one to transform into complex machinery, such as Scratch Monopoo's instruments or Baby Five's weapons, or perhaps purely fantastical ideas that allow people to conjure books and even trap victims in an illusory story world a la Montdour. Books, quite famously, are not a naturally occurring phenomenon. In fact, how they come about is it's quite brutal, because what we do is we craft books from the corpses of trees. Although most intriguing of all are mythical zoans, devil fruits that allow people to assume the properties of creatures that almost certainly never existed. And just like Luffy being able to solve the Collat's conjecture, devil fruits are stupid and they cannot do that thing that I just said. Not naturally anyway, but they can definitely be engineered. All it would really take is one ancient Vegapunk level genius to work all of this stuff out and bam! Magic science fruit exists all over the world. DNA could be quite specifically altered to grant the properties of animals, elements, or substances, perhaps even very specifically programmed shapes as well, like saxophones or Gatling guns. And to create things like mythical zoans, and this hyper-intelligent science bro would just need to blend a series of factors. For example, with Marco's devil fruit, all we really need is to fuse a basic bird with some fiery Mera goodness, and then add the healing factor of the Chiu Chiu no Mi on top, and wow, look, that is one delicious pineapple-y phoenix right there. But my greater point with all of the words that are coming out of my mouth is that if all devil fruits are artificial, then what is stopping a 4th category from existing? And as I continue to allude to, does that 4th category already exist? Because our next point is that despite the fact that we've been doing a deep dive of One Piece for about a quarter of a century now, fleshing out the mechanics of our magical fruit power system, there are still an uncomfortable amount of devil fruits that do not neatly fall into that system. Just as a reminder, we have Logias, which allow people to conjure, manipulate, and become natural elements. Then there are Zoans, which give people the ability to transform into creatures or a creature hybrid. And then there are Paramecias, which is where all of the other crap goes. Sadly, there is no strict definition of a Paramecia. In fact, if there was, I would say that the definition of a Paramecia is something that is not a Logia or a Zoan. And this is what I refer to as the Paramecia dumping ground. It's where all of the weird and wacky leftovers go. I mean, you've got a guy who makes interdimensional doors, a woman who transforms her enemies into fresh laundry, and even a man who quite vigorously rubs his crotch in order to conjure a genie. Plus there's also the guy, what's his name? Very Good, yeah, Captain Very Good. He's the guy who turns into balls, and just imagine trying to explain that to someone, you know? So what's your superpower, sir? Well, you see, I can become balls, and that's about it. I also feel like Very Good and Daifuku would make quite the good duo. Balls and crotch rubber, together at last. But this is what I mean. The definition of Paramecia is once again simply something that is not a Logia or a Zoan. But even with that nigh on a frustratingly vague definition, there are fruits that already exist that throw this 3-pronged system into pure turmoil. To start with the basic one, we of course have Charlotte Katakuri's Mochi Mochi no Mi. This bad boy here has the official designation of being a special Paramecia, because it contains the innate properties of both a Logia and a Paramecia fruit. fruit, because in a process that can only be described as somehow, it allows Katakuri to not only generate mochi, but also turn his body into mochi. There is no other paramecia in existence that can do all two of these two things. People will often bring up Magellan or Galdino, but they can only generate poison and wax respectively. They do not turn their bodies into it. On the flip side, paramecias that do alter their users' bodies, like say Does Bones turning into blades, do not allow them to actually generate that substance, just transform. So because the Mochi Mochi no Mi doesn't fit cleanly into the definition of paramecia, it has the caveat of being special, which I feel is a little bit lazy of the in-world characters who decided this. It actually reminds me a lot of stories of early explorers encountering a platypus. They had absolutely no idea what it was because it was both part rat and part duck. So it was often reported back to the motherland as some sort of billed rat or scurrying duck. And if we were to follow One Piece world rules, then I imagine it would have been classified as a special duck. These days though, we do have a bit more of a handle on it, classifying them as mammal monotremes. But the point is that the Mochi Mochi no Mi is already a devil fruit that could constitute an entirely new class. Right now it's just being kind of shoehorned into the paramecia world because what's the definition of paramecia again? Not a Logia and not a Zoan. So that's where the Mochi Mochi no Mi kind of has to sit. But that does also beg the question of what we do with fruits that don't fit our framework, but which are also undisputedly Logias and or Zoans. Now that's a confusing statement. I get that, but these fruits, man, they really mess with my mind brain. Our prime example being the Tama Tama no Mi, or egg fruit. It sounds very simple, but it's anything but. I said but twice there, shouldn't have done that, but I did. This fruit is absolutely wild because it contains potential properties from two broad classes. Obviously, it has the distinct feature of turning its user, Baron Tamago, into an animal, thus thoroughly invoking the Zoan class. However, it doesn't just allow him to transform into said animal, it allows him to transform into three incarnations of one animal: a chicken, a rooster, and an egg. The egg, I guess, sort of acting as the basic human form, just with a very stylish upward egg skirt. And of course, the activation requirement to move between these forms is to be inflicted with a fatal wound, at which point you turn into egg goop before regenerating. It's a very bizarre paramecia-esque feature. You could even make the argument that there's a bit of Logia mixed in because the user does seem to also have a phase of becoming this weird intangible substance, but I'm not gonna go down that road here today. But what we essentially end up with is a devil fruit that is half Zoan, half paramecia. So what do we call it? Is it another special paramecia? Even though it's not even close to the definition set up by the Mochi Mochi no Mi? Or is it a special Zoan because it's a Zoan but also not? And once again, could this not be cause to consider just opening up a whole new category? One that refers to a blending of a Zoan and a paramecia, so perhaps some sort of parazoan or even Zoamecia. That's not even it either, because we do have a further case study with Karasu of the Revolutionary Army. Once again, it's clearly at least some sort of Zoan because it allows Karasu to turn into living, breathing crows being plural, and that already goes against the major principle of Zoan fruits because Karasu is transforming into multiple creatures rather than just one. And furthermore, the way in which he does it mimics the abilities of a Logia. From what we've seen, it's as if Karasu's body was just made of crows in the same way that Ace's body was made of fire. It's a very odd fusion of Logia and Zoan, which once again presents itself as an entirely different case from either the Mochi Mochi no Mi or the Tama Tama no Mi. So we now have three devil fruits that do not currently fit into our established three-class construct. A special paramecia that can mimic Logia powers, a special Zoan that has a set of paramecia conditions, and a special Logia, I think, maybe, because it allows its user to become a murder of crows rather than some sort of element. And of course, we could probably plonk all of these into a lovely Venn diagram, but when a classification system has so many exceptions, should it not be time to reevaluate that system altogether? Because it feels an awful lot to me like a fourth category of devil fruits already exists, which I would tentatively call hybrid devil fruits, a fruit that demonstrates the attribute of two or more base classes. Or if you want to go super technical, you could even say that maybe a fourth, fifth, and even sixth class of devil fruit already exists if you separate them by exactly which two base classes are blended. Sure, it's not quite as sexy as saying something like these are the things that are, have been, and always will be, but that's kind of the nature of progress, really. Even when discounting the things I've said so far, in the One Piece world, we already have a fourth class of fruit, which are the smiles. The artificial abomination shat out of Caesar Clown's gassy science hole, and they may attempt, and emphasis on the word attempt, to replicate the effects of a Zoan fruit, but they're so distinctly separate from that class. But in this case, we do also have one much better example of a confirmed artificial devil fruit, which is Vegapunk's creation. Even though for mysterious reasons it was stated to be a failure, it is demonstrably the closest a known character has come in the series to crafting a perfectly man-made fruit. And even then, it's an existence that may not necessarily classify as a simple Zoan. But of course, it's not a smile either. either. So right now, Vegapunk's fruit is a one-of-a-kind in its own unique category. But with this in mind, why couldn't someone like Vegapunk push that concept further? And perhaps he might not have been able to properly replicate Paramecia's or Logia's, but what stops him taking all of that knowledge from his actually massive head and just forging his own unique class? Because there are a lot of meta ideas that do have yet to be explored in One Piece. You might think that the trifecta of classes covers everything in existence, especially with the Paramecia dumping ground, but they really don't. For example, something that has really never come up with devil fruits is the idea of plants. We have fruits that explore the world of elemental energy, generated substances, fauna, but for whatever reason, nothing that really touches on flora. I mean, Robin's power does sprout body parts like plants, I suppose, and there is the non-canon Mosa Mosa no Mi, which enhances the growth of plants, but nothing that really incorporates the properties of plants themselves. To be fair, I can see why this is, and my apologies to any avid botanists who happen to be watching, but to put it quite bluntly, plants are boring. It also might be a little bit late in the series to introduce something so tame. I mean, just imagine a new villain popping up after Wano. Maybe his name is John Flowerman, and he rocks up all menacingly just to state, "Haha, Mugiwara, you'll never defeat me because I have a secret fourth type of devil fruit that grants me all of the powers of a hibiscus." It just probably wouldn't go over very well. But there are also other options. I asked the Grand Fleet what they'd like to see in a fourth class, and there were some very interesting ideas. One of them would be a knowledge-based devil fruit, one that doesn't change your DNA so much as it imprints various wisdoms into it. A fair few people did also suggest the meta devil fruits, which I believe is the Tekking and or Ohara theory. The idea that there was a class of fruit designed specifically to counter the existing three types, and I could maybe see that happening. If devil fruits were used as a primary weapon of war in some sort of, let's say, void century, then it would have been quite valuable to produce some sort of hard counter to them. And then of course, eventually when we go down this rabbit hole, we always land on the idea of an angel fruit. Maybe not so much a fourth class as much as an entirely new system of its own that exists in opposition to devil fruits, perhaps allowing their users to swim but in exchange for another detriment. Or maybe they would allow an individual to be able to consume both a devil and an angel fruit. What evidence do I have for this, you ask? Well, you'd better call the monastery because I've got a whole lot of none. But I really don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility for Vegapunk to go down the route of creating a special fourth class or an entirely new family of fruit. It would certainly raise the stakes of Endgame One Piece and really thrust us into a whole new era of the world, one which continues to shatter the established constructs and help usher us into an entirely new age. Just as I would like to usher you into an entirely new video, because there's always more to learn, explore, and experience with this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.